Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, happy Tuesday night. Tuesday night. Mr. Armin, I'm so sorry. I didn't know I had that many East Coast followers. I might have tried to make it work a little earlier, so my apologies about that. Still, thank you so much for coming out, and hopefully we'll all make sure we play nice. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining me for the first time, I want to thank you so much for coming on in. My name is Mr. Little, and I am a part-time video game streamer, mostly getting destroyed playing video games, but I also like to talk about history a lot. And if this is your first time joining us, then I'd like to... oh my, that's... have to work on that. That's a little bit awkward. Let's see. That's not right. We're going to have to remove that. There we go. Now what's wrong with my camera? Let's see. All right. Oh, that's better. So now I'm too big. There we go. Just right. Just right. What's good, Monica 12? Sri Lanka Izmirmin. Doing chem right now. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. I wish I could help you with chem. But my expertise is solely in history and Newtonian mechanics in physics. But I'll tell you this, as I tell everybody else, that chemistry is actually relatively easy. Did you know that this answer to every single chemistry question is the same thing? Did you know this? For real. The answer to every single chemistry question is the exact same thing. So let me ask you this first. What, when you break it down to it, is the study of chemistry? What do you do when you study chemistry? Like, think about every chemistry problem you've ever seen. What are you usually trying to do? You're usually trying to study the differences in how chemicals become other chemicals, right? Or elements become other elements, right? Well, how does an element become another element? It's change in its nuclear number, right? Or its atomic number, change in the atomic number, right? Yeah, change in the atomic number. So what's the change in the atomic number? Well, it's very simple. It's the change in the number of electrons. Neutrons, not electrons, right? And what allows an atom to change its number of electrons? Why, it's the weak nuclear principle. Yes, as Dragon Waith has got it. Yes, it's my favorite joke. It's my favorite academic joke. It's the weak nuclear principle force. I actually explained this to a chemistry teacher, and they just, like, deadpan, had no idea what I was talking about. Like, low-key, just, like, looked at me like I was, like, an alien. And I explained it to them, and they were like, oh, okay. That's not funny. So, chemistry teacher not approved, I guess, but that's all right. Okay, so if you're just joining us for the first time and you're not already driven off on my terrible sense of humor, my name is Mr. Little. Just a tiny bit about me before we get started, just to prove that I do know what I'm talking about. I have a bachelor's degree in history. I've taught AP World for 6 years, and I've graded the AP test for 3 years in a row now. And you know what? I used to have a little mug that I got when I graded the AP exams, but I gave it away at a white elephant this Saturday. So I don't have it with me because I didn't really like to use it anyway. So I got rid of it. Alrighty, so today, this stream is specifically going to focus on Unit 1. If you are one of my students, and we use a slightly older textbook, that is chapters 13 through 20, not including anything that has to do with trade or economics. All that stuff is next, Unit 2. If you go to a different school that doesn't use our old textbook, and you use the blue book, the AMSCO book, you guys, this is just Unit 1, and you know what Unit 1 is. Most people know if they're, familiar with the unit structure. Good stuff. Ears and min, I don't know. I'm going to have to figure out. I'll figure it out. Yeah, let's make sure we keep things clean in the chat. This is a family-friendly chat. So if be good to see you. Okay, so here, I got to get rid of this again. There we go. So here's a little bit, oh, my camera's still misshapen. Okay. Gonna have to fix that again. There we go. Didn't know all of my slides got messed up. Anyways, so here's a real quick plan. Here's what we're gonna do. Hopefully we're only gonna be here for about an hour and a half. Don't want to take your time up because it is late and it is a school night. So we're going to run down some content review, and then we're going to go through some multiple choice stuff, and we're going to do a little bit of multiple choice practice at the end of it. Now, we are also going to give away stickers. I got lots of stickers. I want to give them away. And for showing up early and being here on time, I'm going to go ahead and start. We're going to do 2 rounds of giveaways. And the way you do it, it's very simple. You just enter. Let me see. It should be going. There we go. Right? You just put ! raffle to go ahead and enter that. It'll be open for a few minutes, and then we'll close it and we'll pick a winner. But we're going to be doing that. There we go. We'll be doing that all throughout the stream. I got lots of stickers. I'd like to give them away. I want to send them off to you. So we're going to go ahead. That's going to be open for a couple minutes. Dope, dope, dope. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started with our little Unit 1 content review. We're going to use what was actually taught to me by a bunch of students last year, which is the quiz, which is like Kahoot, but apparently better. Super duper better. It's got a lot of interesting features I really like for self-study, but it's also got your classic teacher-led stuff. So, P. Geller, glad you made it. Glad you made it. Oh, we have quite a few entries. That's wonderful. All right, let's see. Make sure this thing is going. Okay, here we go. Dope. So we're going to keep this open for about 3 minutes. Actually, we can keep it open a little bit longer than that. But you go to joinmyquiz.com and you put in that little code right there. And then you can go ahead and play along with everybody else. I do have the name generator on. I am sorry. But, well, as they would say on the internet, this is a Christian server. We have rules here, okay? Keep it family friendly. And I've had too many experiences with students using very clever but inappropriate names. Very clever but inappropriate names. So, got to keep it clean. I apologize. I know the name generator takes away some of the fun, but we'll manage. We'll manage. All right. Well, thanks. I'm so glad everyone's gotten in. The raffle's got a lot of entries. Let's see. 13 users in. All right. Well, that's good. Good. Irizamin, did you miss the first joke about chemistry? Yeah, no, Mr. Gray, I've got the Armin, I've got the name thing locked because I can't be risking some dirty jokes, yo. Can't be risking some bugger's gonna have a dirty joke on me. So I apologize, but yeah, my apologies. Let's see what happened there. Huh, that's weird. Why is it doing that? Why is it suddenly larger than it's supposed to be? It's blocking my face. What happened? I'll shrink that. Okay. Beautiful. Alrighty. We're going to give it about 30 more seconds and we'll go ahead and get started. If at any point anybody wants to join in. Potato Poppins, right? I think of Mary Poppins, but made completely of potatoes, right? Just a spoonful of sugar. No, it's a spoonful of ketchup. Makes the medicine go down. Well, I swear, you know, this last week, I swear, Friday, it was so gray and so dark. I thought we were living in like Manchester or something. After school, I was just walking around like, "Oh, mate, I'm gonna freeze my butt off out here. I swear I'm gonna lose 2 digits if I stick around any longer." Actually, you're right, Cocoa Butter. Ketchup has an insane amount of sugar. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started, but I'm gonna write down the join code so if people come late but want to join us, they can go ahead and do that. Bollocks, yes. Freeze my bollocks. That is good. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and get started. And people want to join, I do believe, yeah, join code's right down there in the corner. Alrighty, let's go. So this is a quick chronology question, especially if you are like my students who use a slightly older book. This is a quick chronology refresher. Yeah, it's some. I've added a few as well. Yes, these were the ones from the exam jam, but I've added a few, taken away a few. So it's a little different. Booyah. Let's see who's on top at first. Oh, my. Oh, ouch. Oh, wow. That's painful. Painful. Yikes. Well, good first lesson. If you use a contemporary, like a current AP World Book, then you probably know that the sultanates are the states that exist between 1200 and 1450. Sometimes almost exactly. Like the Delhi Sultanate was toppled, I think, 1507. So like almost perfect. What's up, B? What's up, B? Good to see you. Whereas the caliphates, the two major caliphates, the Umayyad and the Abbasid, those were both gone by 1200. The Abbasid just makes it into 1200 with 1258, but for all intents and purposes, the AP World people just want you to know that it used to exist. Okay, next question. Let's keep it rolling. Okay. Got some spam stuff already. Hoobity 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 hoop 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 hoop, and let's go. All right, our first ban of the evening. We got him. We got him. All righty, well, Vanilla Valjean, good job. You made it all the way to the top. So, yeah. So, what's interesting is this is going to be a kind of a thing you're going to see going along here, and this is a thing, especially if you struggle with multiple choice, is that we really got to read some of these questions carefully. So, there's always going to be two answers that seem right, they seem correct, but it's actually a little bit tricky. So, for example, Muslim merchant and diaspora communities, that's, in theory, sounds correct, right? Because we're talking about spreading things out far and wide, but diaspora communities would be outside of the Islamic cultural zone. And that's why the Baghdad House of Wisdom, where you brought all sorts of ideas together, would be a better example here of this sort of information spreading, right? So that's this also just key term College Board wants you to know. So good stuff. And if there's ever any questions about them, please feel free to. Yeah. So usually, and these are a little bit abbreviated, but they might say something like Sufi travelers along the Silk Road spreading Islam into India, or something like that, Mr. Armin. Yeah. They'll usually have a lot more. The answers will be a lot longer. Or the possible answers will be a lot longer. Yeah, the pick of the house. Yeah, that pick is not the House of Wisdom. That's just the library. There are no known depictions of the House of Wisdom. But that's usually what a lot of scholars think it might have looked like. There are some scholars that argue the House of Wisdom didn't even actually exist, but it's too well described to completely be a fiction. Maybe it's exaggerated historically, but it probably existed, most likely. All right, oh, this one is also a good one. Oh, Raspberry Ripley making their way up to the top. Awesome. Ooh, yeah, the Grand Canal. So trick with this one is the keyword infrastructure, right? Silk Road, it's called the Silk Road, but it's actually a big old network of trade. It's not a single path, right? And the Great Wall, that does technically count as infrastructure, but that probably wouldn't contribute to a market economy. But a canal that could link the two parts of the country together and make it easy to move food and goods, now that would do a lot for the economy of a country. So, Grand Canal. Dope. All right. Next question. Whoops. Oh, see, that's when it does that. It might, and to the extent that it limits trade. All right. We got our first raffle winner here. Not to take away from that question about the Great Wall, right? Dronowaith, congratulations. Just be sure when you're done, when this whole stream is done, just be sure to reach out to me and get in touch with me so I can get you your stickers. Ooh, Nectarine O'Keefe shooting up. Shooting up, yes. Alrighty. Oh, wow, we already got to this question already. We skipped it. Oh, my bad. So, yeah, the trick here is the phrase most. The trick here is the phrase most, right? So, which dynasty, I'll ask this question, which dynasty got its renown and its administration via the use of outsiders from other parts of their empire? And there's a dynasty that, it's not in the course anymore, but it's the dynasty that came directly before the Song dynasty, is the Tang dynasty, which in its later history, due to a series of complex political situations all colliding at one time, decided to suppress the large number of Buddhist monasteries in the country. So that's why most dynasties would use these two combinations, the Mandate of Heaven and the civil service exam. Even the Mongols eventually used the civil service exam. They stopped for a little bit, then they used it again. Cool. Alrighty, let's keep it rolling. We're 20% done. I only want to see appropriate answers. I swear, if I see it, I'm kicking any player that writes an inappropriate answer. I swear. Don't do it. Don't do it. Or a racist answer. Don't be leaving me a racist answer, okay? Don't do it. Please don't do it. This one should be a fairly no-brainer. Should be pretty clear who this is. Let's see. Only 7 people attempted this? Cool. Yeah, it's Zheng He. That's the great Chinese admiral of the Ming Dynasty. Right? Set out, sailed the seas, but not necessarily to conquer or trade, more to flex, if you will, right? When you see someone driving a fancy sports car down the road. Oh, we ran out of time? Okay. Well, that's all right. My bad. My apologies. But yeah, Zheng He, great admiral of the Ming Dynasty, right? Whose voyages were not so much about exploration as they were about flexing. Flexing. Alrighty. This is one of those except questions, okay? Which one of these does not fit the others? Which one of these does not fit the others? At least I'm glad to see everyone's participating. That's awesome. Ooh. Nectarine O'Keefe seems to really bring in the heat. Yes, a centralized Confucian monarchy, and that is because Japan did not adopt that. Now, Korea and Vietnam did, but Japan did not, right? They all adopted Buddhism in some form, or it became really popular in their territories. Same thing with the Chinese script as a model for later developments. But Japan had its little warring states period for a long time, and eventually they didn't get a centralized Confucian monarchy. They got a shogunate, a military rule. So that's why Japan kind of stands out. The thing you do want to remember is that China, as the cultural center of East Asia at the time, was very influential, right? Embassies from Vietnam and Korea and Japan would go to visit the emperor and seek to imitate the system they would see in their countries. Yeah, so when I say Buddhist, I don't necessarily mean the state became Buddhist. Like, it doesn't mean that Buddhism was adopted by the state as its official religion, but that means that Buddhism became an integral part of the culture, right? So even in China, where Confucianism was usually the norm, the official governing religion, there were still lots of individual Buddhists everywhere, right? Same thing in Korea and same thing in Vietnam, right? Just because the governing ideology was not Buddhist doesn't mean there weren't actual people who were Buddhist. Does that kind of make sense, Mr. Armin? In fact, Zen Buddhism of the Japanese variety. Actually, that's, you know what? The very first Buddha to ever, as far as I understand, the very first Buddha ever brought to the United States came from Japan at the 1903 World's Fair. No, 1913 World's Fair in San Francisco. The Japanese brought this gigantic bronze Buddha that sat in a pavilion in what is now downtown San Francisco. Neo-Confucianism. Yeah, that would be China. That would be all of those places, right? So Korea, China, and Vietnam. All right, so let's not dally on the. We've got a lot of questions to go, and I want to try to stick to our 10 o'clock deadline. Don't want to keep you all up too late, because it is late. The Black Death. Now, technically, this is Unit 2, but I just left this in here because it's a good question. Alrighty, who's up at the top now? Oh, dope. We got it. Yes, that's the Little Ice Age, right? That's not the, that would not be these things, right? Little Ice Age. Good stuff. Black Death was concurrent with Little Ice Age, but not, not a cause of it. Hilhelmio cool. If you wanted to review all this stuff, I mean, there's all sorts of places. I got a YouTube channel, but there's also a bajillion YouTube channels on YouTube. YouTube channels on YouTube. You could also check any number of Quizlets. Probably have a lot of this info if you needed to review it again. I don't know if that answers your question. Yes, awesome. So this statue, this awesome statue, this is the first ruler of the Majapahit, little series of islands, what is now Indonesia Kingdom. And here he's presented as Hari Hari, which is a Hindu deity. It's a combination of Vishnu and Shiva. So this is a great example of those religious traditions blending with a local ruler who wishes to deify himself. Yeah, no, I mean, my understanding is that, and maybe I'm mistaken, Shiva has the arms, but Vishnu has the snake belt. I'm not a Hinduism expert. Please don't clip me. Please don't clip me. I don't know that. I'm not an expert on that. Okay. Yeah, so the thing about, I mean, obviously Heimler's history is, they're a great set of videos, but like, he's just making videos, right? He can't come in deep and answer questions, which I totally understand. I go over some of the stuff in some of my videos, but you have to find which ones you're looking for, since I have a lot of them. Yeah, when he was a ruler, yeah, no, the piece was found many, many years after. That piece was, I believe, excavated in the 1930s, or maybe the 1910s. But yeah, he'd been long gone by that point. But what you got to think about with some of these statues is, right, a lot of your average peasant would probably never see the king, right? So that statue might be the only thing they ever see about their king, right? So it's very important that rulers make these kinds of statues because it might be the only thing people ever see, right? Okay, so this one, right? So this is the Indian Ocean, right? And the Indian Ocean is really known for its trade network. But what allows for that trade network to happen? A very particular environmental phenomenon. What's up, Digi Alex? Glad you made it. Sri Lamisa. Wind, right? A very particular kind of wind. A monsoon wind. You might call an environmental phenomenon. Right? Blows north in the winter, blows south in the summer. Right? I believe, yeah, north in the winter, south in the summer. Yeah. Dope. Okay. Let us proceed. Alrighty. We're going to pick another winner, too, while we're at it, since we got a lot of people entered the raffle. We're going to pick another winner. We got Lumpy Bob. Lumpy Bob, congratulations. Just be sure to get back to me with your contact information after the stream is over, so I can get you your stuff. Congrats. Yeah, this is kind of a fun question. I sincerely hope people got this one. Yeah, somebody had to click it anyways. Yes, it's all of them except for this one. I had to throw in something that you didn't know. But yeah, these are the big forms of Buddhism. Now, technically, College Board says you have to know all of these, but I've honestly never seen Tibetan Buddhism mentioned in any practice question. But it's still it's still listed there for some reason. But I've never seen it, and the only time it ever comes up meaningfully is with the Mongols because they were big fans of Tibetan Buddhism. Um, Good stuff. Yeah, Hilo McCool. I mean, it's why short amount of time. Well, you'd probably just do your best with like a Quizlet at that point. I mean, I do have I got a Unit 1-2 video that I put together that's specifically just about like a couple of facts and examples from Unit 1 and 2. Theravada Buddhism, Mr. Armin, that's in Southeast Asia. So that's like Thailand, Vietnam, Myanmar, Laos, and Cambodia. In fact, we should hang on. I think I can. Hang on a second. Hold on. Let me show you. Let me show you something really quick. Let me find it. We'll move on to the next question, but we'll move on to the next question. But let me just Yes, awesome. Bhakti poets close to Sufi mystics. Congratulations. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Next question. While I find the next, while I find this map, I want to show you guys. Let's see. Where is it? Here it is. Sometimes maps are just amazing. You just gotta love maps. All right. Let's see. We got it. Are we done here? Yep, we are. Dope. All right, so this question in particular, bada bing, bada bing, bada bing. Why am I getting ads? Right, so this temple complex, I don't know if anyone here has actually been there. It's huge. It's massive. Yeah, exactly. Bhakti poets are also about being close to the divine. That's why they're very similar to Sufis, right? You got the Hampi temple complex in Vijayanagara, right? To demonstrate piety, but also as a slight side hustle would have been to get pilgrims to come to their empire. Large temple complexes tended to draw pilgrims because of the associations of holiness. Also the fact that it might potentially have relics. And I may be mistaken, I don't think it's this particular temple complex, but a previous dynasty called the Cholas actually built a temple where they went north, got water from the Ganges River, and brought it south in order to make that place sacred. So lots of pilgrimage attracting. Pilgrims also tend to spend money. All right, let's really quick touch in on medieval Europe. We got a system. This should hopefully be a no-brainer. Name should be right there. What do we got? You know, Cocoa Butterbean, I have a voice chat feature for this stream. I just don't know. I set it up and then promptly never used it, so I'm going to have to figure that out. Let's see, let's exit out of here. Dope. What do we got? Yeah, feudalism. Feudalism. Yep. That is correct. That's the system by which you, peasant, work the land for a lord who protects you from danger. And in return, you give him like half your crops, half your food. Irzamin, yeah, that's correct, right? They make the temples for people who believe in the religions, and they want to look good. Really quick, I want to show you guys that map I was talking about. This is a map of Buddhism, right? The dark red is the Theravada school of Buddhism, right? And the yellow is the Mahayana Buddhism, as well as the yellow and is more Mahayana, and then the green and the blue. Well, the green is a sort of a combination of Mahayana and Tibetan. The blue is Tibetan, and then the light purple here is called Dalit Buddhism, which is a really interesting story. There's actually a really interesting story behind this, which maybe it comes at the end of the. Actually, it comes legitimately at the end of the course. We could talk about it. It's the dude who wrote India's constitution, a guy named Ambedkar, started a Buddhist movement in India. His life story is fascinating. Cool. So, the Holy Roman Emperor, not holy, not Roman, not an emperor, but he had a lot of fights with a very particular religious leader that he just couldn't seem to get along with. They were always bickering, always squabbling. Dope. Yep, it is the one and the only, the Pope and the Church. Yes, the Holy Roman Emperor, this guy right here, was constantly arguing with the Pope about who actually had the power in medieval Europe. Was it the Emperor, who in theory was supposed to be the ruler of all of Europe, or was it the Pope, who was the head of all Christians, right? And they kept going back and forth. Who can appoint bishops? Who gets to collect taxes? Right? Constant petty squabbling. Some scholars argue that that's the reason there was no empire in Europe ever again, because it's constant fighting, right? Constant infighting and bickering. Okay, let's see. We may skip a few of these questions just in the interest of time, only because I want to make sure we can still get to the multiple choice skills, which I know some people came here for. So we may skip a few of these. We may skip a few of these just in the interest of time. This is one of those ones we got to pay attention to the dates. Ooh, yeah. So this is a dates one, right? 1200 to 1450, right? Protestantism usually said to begin with Martin Luther's writings, and he didn't begin writing until the early 1500s. So this is one of those dates ones where you got to kind of pay attention to those dates, right? All of these other things are, yeah, they've been part of popular Christianity for a very long time. That's like the Christianity that most people practice. So, dope. Let's see. I'm going to look into skipping a few of these, maybe after this one. There's only one answer here. I know it says regions, my mistake. There's only one answer. Yes, Martin Luther was a priest and a monk. That is absolutely correct. Did not like indulgences. They were not his thing. And therefore, he wrote 95 theses. And that's a lot of theses. If you think you got to write one and that's hard, try writing 95. Alrighty. What do we got here? Yes, so in terms of where Muslims and Christians and Jews got along, right? One of the places where they did this was Al-Andalus, as well as to a lesser extent in the Kingdom of Sicily, right? If you ever wonder, for example, where Hindi numerals got to Europe, well, that's Al-Andalus. 95 issues of the modern world. That's, yeah, hey, that's true. Is the Renaissance fake? No, John Green said that a couple of years ago, like 10 years ago, but he since sort of walked that statement back. If you've watched the new Crash Course European History, he sort of like walks that statement back, and he's like, well, maybe it just didn't affect a lot of people, which is probably what he meant the first time, but he just sort of had to walk it back. Walk it back, just walk it back. Awesome. So, some ideas moving around under our friends, the Mongols. Which one did not? Which one did not? Ooh, any mix-up in the leaderboard? Yes, we did talk about this today. We did. Yes, paper from China. It was already there. It was already there. All right, all those other things, yep, but paper was already there. Hank Green, I mean, I like Hank Green because I don't know a lot about science. I like watching him talk about science, but I don't know. Also, I think John Green's books are a little overrated. But to be fair, I'm not his audience, so maybe they're not actually that bad. Maybe not. Awesome. So, West Africa, we're talking Mali, Ghana, Songhai, right? The great Sahelian empires. Now, Islam arrived, was a major force, but how did it get there? Well, it got there a couple different ways. But which one is not one of those ways? All right, we'll skip that. Yeah, military conquest. Yeah, this is one of the ones that did not get there that way. Right? Merchants, Sufis, scholars, yes. Military, nah. It would not be a conquest because the caliphate never went down into West Africa. They stayed in North Africa. Let's see. This is the AP World Word you all should know by heart. You should know this by heart. You should be able to say this in your sleep. This word should be just second nature to you. We got a lot of inactive players. The S word, yes. The good S word, not the bad S word. Yes, sirree. All right. At about 19 questions in, we're going to really quick run another giveaway. So anybody else who has entered the raffle, let's see. Let's get another winner out here. Minor K12. Congratulations, Minor K12. Just be sure to reach out to me about your contact info once we're done here. The F word, feudalism, that's also true. The S word being syncretism, right? Syncretism. Or secular. That's the other S word that seems to escape people's lips with AP World. Every year. Secular. What does secular mean, Mr. Little? What does secular mean? Yes, the Solomonic dynasty of Ethiopia, who claimed descent from, right, correct them under right, part of, being descendant from literally one of the most important kings in the Bible is that it gives you a lot of clout with your Christian population. Tons of clout. To be clear, you may not have to know this exact fact, but what College Board does want you to know is that state building and state ideologies differed around the world in Unit 1. That's what they want you to know. Yeah, you can join mid-game. The join code's down there. All right, next question. Let's go. No. If you join anytime, that's A-okay. All good, all good. There are two answers here. Terry, since when do you have tattoos? Goodness gracious. Learning new things about you. That explains why you have long sleeves all the time. To be fair, that's also why I always have long sleeves, if you ever wondered. So it looks like Jalapeno Julian's going to win this by pretty much a landslide. It's a miracle, Alex. You got it. Dope. Alrighty. Swahili city-states, trading cities, but also claiming connection to that royalty. Are you noticing a pattern here? Claiming connection to royalty? Let's talk about the Americas really quick. Let's touch on the Americas and then we'll be done. We'll dip. What type of tattoos? Well, I got all the tattoos. Actually, the history of tattoos is a fascinating thing, The Inca. Yeah, so if you ever need to draw some sort of comparison with an Afro-Eurasian empire, the Inca would probably be your closest bet. Infrastructure projects, a record-keeping system, administrators sent to different regions. Like the Incas check almost all the boxes. They're probably the closest thing in the Americas to like a Roman Empire or a Chinese dynasty. Still a lot of differences, but they're probably the closest you get. Well, Armin, you're right. The Aztecs did have some pretty dope infrastructure, like some seriously dope infrastructure, but they were definitely not as centralized because what you got to keep in mind is the Aztecs almost didn't really have anything in place except for their tribute system. Beyond that, they didn't really do anything to any of their provinces. And as long as the tribute came, they left their provinces alone. And so to that extent, they were what we might not call a centralized empire. Didn't have a standing military. Like every time the Aztecs needed to go to war, they just called all their generals together and then went to war. Whereas the Incas had a standing army. So this makes them a little bit different. Also, the Aztecs were unusually harsh with their demands. Dope. Alrighty. Well, we are almost done here. We've got 2 questions to go. And then I think this will give us just enough time to Yakuza. Taylor, you better not be. I swear. Please don't. The Mayans are superior. I mean, the Mayans were the OG. I mean, well, technically the Olmecs were the OG, but then the Mayans were then the OGs. All right, but their astronomy was pretty dang OG. Mayans had some pretty dope astronomy. Alrighty, what food crop made its way all throughout the Americas? Yes, it's corn. Congratulations, corn. Amen to that. Perhaps the greatest gift from the Americas to the rest of the world, corn. It's in everything. Corn syrup, corn starch, corn powder. It's everywhere. Cool. Less centralized states. So, the less centralized states. There's a couple here. The less centralized states. It's not all of them, just in case you're wondering. But it's the less centralized. Corn is the OG. It absolutely is. Absolutely. Okay. Yep, it's pretty much all of these except the Aztecs. The Mesa Verde communities, have you ever seen the Cliff Palace? Ever seen a photo of the Cliff Palace? This community that's like carved a little village into a cliff out of stone. Oh yeah, you should check the Cliff Palace. I got to go see it last year during COVID actually. During distance learning, I put all my computer equipment in my car and drove to Colorado and taught out of a hotel for a week. And then during the weekend, I went to see the Mesa Verde. Yes, the Pueblos. Yes, that's basically them, the Pueblos. Right. Pueblo is just a really generic term, though, and like Mesa Verde is like the valley where most of the most well-known ones have been found. So, but Pueblo refers to like all of them across like the Four Corners area. So that place where Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, and Nevada all meet, the Four Corners area. That's where the Pueblos are. Cool. Alrighty. We are done, so let's get some winners up here. Let's see who's got the juice. So we got I guess Raspberry Ripley won this one by a landslide. So could I get Raspberry Ripley in the chat along with the other two top competitors? So Nectarine O'Keefe and Vanilla Valjean. Who's if you want to go ahead and drop that in the chat, you will also receive some nice sticker sets. So please do let me know. Don't forget to let me know who you are if you got first, second, or third. Actually, I got so many stickers to give away. We could go a little bit. So let's also get fourth and fifth. So let's get Dandelion, Magwali, and Durham Wormwood. Durham Wormwood. All right, so let's see. We got Zephyrlax 1, and Soph B. And Irzamin. All good. Icon is a microphone. I can't see. Well, if yeah. Awesome. All right, let's swap gears really quick, and let's talk a little bit about multiple choice questions. Since I know some people came here for that, I want to make sure we can get to practice a little bit of that before we go. Before I let you go. Dope. But before we make that transition, let's go ahead and let's give away some more stickers just while we're at it. I'm gonna pick another winner. Who do we got? We got Arya Singh 14. Well, I don't know who that might be, but congratulations, Arya Singh 14. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and let's pop on over and talk about multiple choice really quick. So I want to just really quick before we get to some examples and talk about the skills, I want to really quick talk about some tips, some tricks. Now, of course, this is the fact. Nothing is going to replace actually practicing, which is why every chance you get to practice, you should take that, right? But I do want to give you some tips that people have told me have helped them in the past. So I want to share these with you. So we're just going to run through these. There are 7 of them. 7 of them. So we're going to run through them real quick, and then we'll get to some actual practice, okay? So, number 1, it seems obvious, but please don't forget to watch the clock. Now, on the actual day of the AP exam, you'll have about a minute per question. Now, that may freak you out a little bit, but let me reassure you that there are going to be questions you will know right off the bat. You'll see them, and you'll be like, know it, got it, done. Bubble it in, move on to the next one, right? So there'll be some where you can just beat it, just boom, done, okay? And then you could save some time on those ones that are a little bit tougher, right? Or when you have to actually read that stimulus, read that little paragraph of information. You can save time and lose time strategically. But as a rule of thumb, you don't want to take too much time on a question. 3 minutes tops. Just if by 3 minutes you just don't know, guess it, move on. Guess it and move on. Better to do all of them and get some of them wrong than to not finish it all. Same thing with the SAT, I believe, right? Just don't leave it blank. Cool. Here's one that a lot of people have told me really helps, which is called answer the question first. And what that basically means is when you get to your question, right, look at the question itself before you look at any of the answers and tell yourself in your head like, oh, I think the answer is this. And then look at A, B, C, and D and see which one lines up the best. And that's something that a lot of people said really helps them. Because sometimes we have the right answer. It's just in our head, right? It's in our very particular way that we process the information, right? And sometimes the College Board doesn't process that information on the paper like you, right? So that's why if you can put it on, formulate it in your head first, then check the paper. That can be a really good thing. Okay. So the other thing to be very careful of, this kind of just goes to your standard close reading thing. This just kind of goes back to close reading, but you got to figure out what's the question actually asking. What does it actually want, right? What's it actually want you to do, right? Sometimes there are words. Sometimes there are words, keywords, right? Oh, I hate the College Board too. Don't get me wrong. These guys are, Trevor Packer is literally like a spawn of Satan as far as I'm concerned. Right? Sometimes you got to look for keywords like audience, immediate, long-term, most, best. Sometimes these words, very particular words, can indicate the difference between a correct answer and an answer that's not correct, but it looks really close, right? It's really close, but it's not, because it's not the most or long-term or immediate, right? So we want to make sure we look for some of those terms. Structuring out the responses first. Mr. RSing14, if you could clarify, I think I like what you're getting at there, but could you clarify for us a little bit, right? So look for those key terms, okay? The other thing, and this is kind of a basic, this also goes to DBQs and any other time you're working with documents, you really want to read that description, and you want to read it probably before you actually read the document, right? Because the thing is, if you are not in the headspace for whatever it is you're about to read, you might read it and not quite understand what you're getting at, right? So, for example, if you're going to read a document from ancient China, you want to just make sure you put yourself in that headspace, right? Put yourself in that headspace. Let me in, please. Welcome. Glad you're here, right? So we always want to check our sources, right? You always want to look at that. You always want to look at that source. Who wrote it? When they write it? Who did they write it for? Sometimes it even tells you that. Right? So you want to just check that info. It's usually almost always at the bottom of the document. It'll be in slightly smaller text, italicized sometimes. Definitely want to make sure you check that. Peep that first, okay? Cool. Tone words. Tone words. This is a little bit tough, but it is one thing you want to do. Look for words that indicate overly positive or overly negative feelings. This can be a clue as to how the speaker feels about something, right? Is it good? Is it bad? Right? It can give context and clues and point of view clues. So words like amazing, the best, the greatest, the GOAT, right? Or things like the worst, or maybe a Karen, right? You want to look for words that are overly positive or overly negative. These are kind of things you want to keep a lookout for in those sources, right? In those sources. Dope. Look for key terms in the questions and answers. Look for those words that, like bias. You want to look for some kind of bias, right? You also want to look for key terms in the answers, right? In your possible answers. It's not always going to be the case, but sometimes, just sometimes, the correct answer will just be the one with a key term in it. Sometimes, but not always. In fact, it can be the opposite. But you do want to look for those key terms. If it's something you remember reading in class or from your textbook, maybe pay a little bit closer attention to that possible answer, right? Look for them key terms. Okay. Dope. And last but not least, this is kind of a classic one, but just one never forgetting, which is to, if you got to practice process of elimination, you just got to, guess, right? So if you got to guess, just 50% is better than 25%, okay? And 33% is better than 25%. So don't be afraid to eliminate and go for that. Okay. All right. So those are our 7 tips. And with that said, let's go ahead and with about 30 minutes to go, we're going to transition over to the multiple choice questions. In order to reset the raffle and give anyone who got here late a chance to enter, we're resetting. So if you'd like to go ahead and enter the raffle, go ahead and just put raffle right there. So let's see. RSing is sure, according to the prompt, and if MCQ thesis statement, if you plan out the main aspect of each sentence according to answer the question before you write it all together. Yeah, so especially, if you're free responding, definitely, RSing's absolutely right. You want to plan out what you're doing, especially if you're free writing, right? the main aspect of each sentence, right? A little bullet point. Good stuff. All right. So with that said, let's go ahead and transition over to a couple of real life, OG, real multiple choice questions. Okay. Some real OG stuff. All right. All right. Actually, hang on. I need to do one thing before we get started on this. Let's go do one thing. Drag this over here. Okay. Cool. All right. So we got some OG multiple choice questions. Now, here's the other thing that a lot of teachers don't have time to talk about. Also, because they have a life, unlike me, I don't have a life. Quizlet or Kahoot links. I mean, I feel like you guys probably know where all the good Quizlets are. I mean, that's every year I have students tell me about Quizlets. I just assume you guys know already. But I suppose I could go looking for some, sure. Right? So, here's the thing about multiple choice questions, and this is, by the way, true no matter what AP Social Studies you're in. World, US, Euro, I think even Gov. This might even apply to Gov. Right? And that they have 5 skills. That's the type of question being asked. It's looking for a very particular thing, right? And today we're going to look at skill 1, 2, and 3. And then on Thursday, we'll look at 4 and 5. We're just going to kind of break it up because it's a lot to go over in a single stream. So we're going to talk about skill level number 1 real quick. And this is the most common one. This is the one that I've seen the most. Most questions are this one. Not all, but it's very likely that most of your questions on the AP exam will be the skill level. It's pretty straightforward. It's essentially asking you what, why, and or how have long-term or short-term, this phrase right here, developments or processes shaped a historical event. This is a really fancy way of asking, how have the stuff represented in this here document shaped a broader trend, right? So whatever's being described in your stimulus-based question, how has this shaped a broad trend? That's what it's asking. This is the most common question. So, shall we take a look? Shall we take a look at this here question? Every multiple choice question in Gov is revolved around that. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Would not be surprised. It's been so many years since I took AP Gov, though I barely remember anything about it. So, here's a question. What I'd like you to do is to go ahead and, I don't have my poll feature up right now. But why don't you go ahead and we'll take a second, and then if you think you know it, if you think you know what it is, you can go ahead and throw it in the chat. But here we have a picture, and we have here Maria, Countess of Bern, which is in France, accompanied by 7 of her male courtiers, swears homage to King Alfonso of Aragon in a manuscript produced for the royal court of Aragon circa 1175 CE. Now, this act that the Countess is doing, swearing of allegiance, is most closely identified with which political system? Which system-wide long historical process political system? Is it A, manoralism? Is it B, serfdom? Is it C, monasticism? Or is it D, feudalism? Vote now on your phones. Yeah, you can just put it in chat. That's fine. Interesting. Huh. This is very interesting. It looks like a lot of people said C. That is interesting. Okay. You know what I'd really like to do? I'd really like to get someone to explain their thinking on here. Tell you what, yeah, C is about religion, that's true, right? But this isn't about religion, this is about paying homage, this is paying loyalty to the king, right? So it's not about monasticism, which is living a life of prayer and contemplation in a monastery far away, right? Exactly. It's feudalism because it's all about the social loyalty thing, right? So it's D, feudalism. Correctamundo, right? Also, she's got 7 male courtiers. 7 male courtiers. That don't sound like a nun to me, walking around with 7 male courtiers. That's some peak game right there. You got 7 dudes just following you around. She might have done really good on social media today, but she did all right. So 7 male courtiers. So yeah, girl boss. Yes, this is a girl boss doing girl boss things, right? So yes, it's a D. So you can see how this particular question, right? This particular question is asking about this broader trend of feudalism, right? It's asking you to look at this thing and then connect it to this trend that's just going everywhere, right? Feudalism. Cool. But that's considered a relatively easy one. Let's get a gaslight gatekeep girl boss. I'll be curious to hear the longer explanation about that tomorrow, Leo. Let's pick a real quick winner here, though. All right, minor 12K. You got it twice. Congratulations. Let's pick another winner. All right, Rice and Rice. Congratulations. Just be sure to get in touch with me after the stream. Get in touch with me after the stream so we can get you your contact stuff. Okay, let's move on. So here is a slightly longer one. This passage you got to read. So I think, Armin, this is the thing you were asking about, like the longer in-depth questions. So let's take a minute to go ahead and read this on the black here. Is this visible, by the way? Is this big enough? Can everyone read this? Okay, I can make it bigger. I can make the screen bigger if it needs to be. It's not a problem. Okay. Let's take a second, and then in exactly a minute, we'll go ahead and throw the questions in chat. Rice and rice. Oh, rice is tasty. I'm not going to argue with that. Rice is very tasty. I make ginger rice almost every week now. It's one of my regular things. Let me in, please. Who do you got? If you're not one of mine, where do you find yourself? Do I yell at second period? I don't yell. Not at all. That's ridiculous. I've never yelled at anybody. I do not. I do not yell. I only yell when I need to get your attention, and I don't yell at a person. I just make a loud noise. I do not yell. I've never yelled at a student. Hate sixth period? I don't hate any class. I don't hate any class. I yelled at the table group behind you for what? Jeez, okay. Alrighty. So here we have this awesome description of, well, not awesome description of a plague. Plague be bad, right? Plague not good, right? So this passage by Al-Khatib, right, best illustrates which of the following general trends, right? Well, Armin, sorry, I don't mean to keep you so long. We'll probably be for about another 15 minutes, but you can feel free to dip. The replay will be on I'll put it on YouTube as soon as I can. But I appreciate you coming out. It's all good. But don't deprive yourself of health for my sake. Don't do that. Yeah, just come out to the next one. We'll do this again on Thursday. All right, so what do we guys think? A, B, C, D. I see a couple people saying A and B. Got a couple people saying B. A couple people saying A, a couple people saying B. Perhaps a B. More B. A, some B, 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 B. Dreadfire, glad you joined us. Yes, as it so happens, the answer is B, right? In part because D and C don't make a lot of sense, and A is, well, that may be true, but that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with this, right? So the growth of scientific thought, that is a thing, right? That's a broader, longer trend in the Islamic world, right? And we can see that here with this discussion about how the plague is clearly being spread by people, right? Not necessarily as divine providence or punishment. So again, we're focusing in on that trend, that broader trend. Okay. This is, we're going to skip this one just because this is a really long one. We're going to skip this one. Okay. We're going to go to skill number 2. So skill number 1, if we go all the way back, right? Skill 1 was all about historical developments and processes, right? How does our stimulus that we're looking at develop to the broader, larger trend, or is connected to the broader, larger trend of world history, right? So fast forward, here's skill number 2. Skill number 2 and skill number 3, 2 and 3, are both connected to what we call sourcing, right? If you've worked with a document-based question, then this is something you're already familiar with. You already do this, right? Basically, for skill number 2, you're asking about the context, the audience, the point of view, or the purpose. If you're in my class, you might remember we did the breakup DBQ, and you also did the Portuguese DBQ. See you tomorrow, Leo. It's all good. So we're just going to do 2 of these each because we are running low on time. So here is one by a guy named Jean Fossier. He was a French chronicler, and he went to England to chronicle stuff. It's a chronicler chronicling stuff, right? And so he gave a long description of some events there. So let's take a second and go ahead and read that, and then we'll figure out what possible answers there could be. What's up, Rice and Drice? Oh my. Oh my, I've been hit with the spammers. I've been hit with the spammers. They got me. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to make it. Yep, bot moment. Someone just dumped the bots on me. It's all good. Alrighty. What do we got? So this question is essentially asking you, all right, so this Fossier guy, he wrote a bunch about peasants, right? Why did he write about peasants the way he did, right? And our new friend Penny Lover has jumped on in and told us that the answer is C, and the answer is absolutely C. That is correct, right? His audience was people who could read, and that was usually elite, smart folks who had the time to sit and learn how to read because they weren't out working in the fields like the peasants, right? So this is an example of audience, right? Figuring out your audience. C is correct. And you know what, to celebrate such a wonderful thing, let's do another giveaway. Let's pick another winner. Teru M. Actually, let's pick 2 winners. Why not? Just because. Squiddy Froggy as well as Teru M. Alrighty. We'll do that. Okay. Just make sure you reach out to me when we're done here. Alrighty. Cool. So, whoops. Sorry, this is a smaller one. This is a quicker one. We can do this one. This one is a description of a city in China. So we've got this lovely description of the Southern Song capital. That is after Kaifeng fell to the Jin, right? So this is a lovely description, but the question is, of all of these descriptions, which would be the hardest to verify? Which of these statements would be the hardest to prove correct? Right? Thinking contextually, thinking with evidence, right? How would it be, which of these would be the most difficult to prove from a historian's perspective? Let's see, we got a nice combination. We got some B's, some A's. Got some B's, some A's, A's and B's. B, yes. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. The answer is, in fact, B, right? Because if you think about it, you could pretty easily think of ways to prove that a city has a large population. You could consult records, you could consult accounts, you could consult even archaeology, right? If you excavated an ancient city, you could make guesses about its size and population, right? To prove that you imported goods, all you'd have to do is find evidence of other goods in other places, right? Same thing with a large market district. You could look at a city map, you could excavate it, right? But higher quality, that's going to be a little harder to prove, in part because beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? But this is an example of a sort of contextualized question, right? This is the situation analysis, right? It's not necessarily about what's in the text itself, but about analyzing that text. So, speaking of China, let's have a look at this lovely painting of Kublai Khan. Now, peep this in the chat if you know who Kublai Khan is. He's not Genghis Khan, but boy, he's up there. The Khan legacy. Grandson, technically. Yeah. Deadfire's got it. Dreadfire, not Deadfire. Sorry about that. Whoops. Well, that's not right. How am I on this page again? That's weird. Odd. Sorry about that. Oh, Hades motion. Don't make me ban you. Don't make me do it. Awesome. So we got this lovely painting. Right? We got this lovely painting, right? And based on this image's historical context, right, what can be inferred about the meaning of the author, the purpose of the author? Right. Now we know the author is this imperial commissioner, Liu, right? So clearly he was paid to make this, right? But what was his purpose? What was the grander, broader purpose of this? Why did leaders like to portray themselves as hunting? Fun fact, Assyrian kings in what is now Iraq and Syria and Jordan liked to hunt lions so much that they single-handedly wiped out the entire species of Middle East lion. Ah, does hunting count as martial arts? I don't think so, but it is a martial skill, right? You have to be able to ride, you have to be able to shoot, and you have to be able to track, usually. You're going to track an animal. Unless you are like some of the kings who practiced what's called enclosure hunting, which, by the way, yes, the answer is C, just so we don't get too bogged down with this. The answer is C. That is correct. Right? Enclosure hunting, this is great. I can't remember when I learned about this. This was so good. So, and Mongols did this too, along with a lot of other royal families, right? Enclosure hunting is where you go out to hunt, but before you go out to hunt, you have a bunch of your people for like miles and miles around, just have a bunch of nets in a big old circle, right? And they just slowly close the net. Like over the course of like days and weeks, they close this net. And then all the animals inside the net, just eventually get, they have nowhere left to run and you can just hunt them right there. So, 'twas something. 'Twas something. Not very sportsmanlike, but hunting is something kings and rulers like to do. Fortnite. Is that how? Yeah, it is. In fact, yes, it's like the blue wall it's the blue wall in PUBG or whatever the equivalent is in Fortnite. Okay, we're reaching our 10 o'clock hour, so let's quickly finish this up. I don't want to. All right, Squid Froggy, play nice. Come on, come on. Alrighty, so the last things last, right? Skill number 3 kind of goes with skill number 2, and that is your source that you're reading arguing with another source, right? Who would disagree? Who would disagree or agree with your source, right? Or just within a source itself, right? Where's the evidence refuting or supporting that argument, okay? So let's have a quick look. There's only 2 of these, and then I'll let you guys go because it's getting late. So this is kind of a long one. It's kind of a long one. But I'll go ahead and read it out loud just because I'm sure our eyes are all a little bit tired. And it goes like this. O king, the city of Madurai was famed for its sweet beauty, but now has become a city of wild animals since the Muslims conquered it in 1335. Its famed Hindu temple has been reduced to rubble. The mighty Kaveri River used to flow in its proper channels, but because our noble Hindu rulers of the past had curbed it with dams, but now the river flows without discipline, like her new Muslim lords, because the dams have been damaged beyond repair. My lord, it is hard to say whether we get more troubled by hearing the owls at night that live in our abandoned gardens, or get more perturbed by the Persian language uttered by the pet parrots from the houses of the Muslims. There is no agriculture left. As the angry Lord Indra has stopped sending the rains, mighty king, the Vedas have disappeared. With the Dharma gone, character and nobleness have also disappeared. My king, this sword that you now place into your lotus hands by divine providence, take it, and without further delay uproot from my lands this Muslim kingdom. And this was a court petitioner, someone who went to ask the Vijayanagara for help. Right, so what are the claims made in the first paragraph? Right, the claims made in the first paragraph. Right, now this one's a little tricky. When I did this last year, almost everybody, yes, technically you only have to read the first paragraph for this problem. That is true. Right, now when I did this last year, a lot of people said B. Right, a lot of people said B, which is not B. Right, it's implied there because wild animals are there, but it's not B. Right, it's also not C because the river did not flood and destroy the whole thing. Right, but we do know that Hindu rulers constructed these irrigation works to control the river. Right, that we can say with certainty. Right, that's one of the major claims. The city was renowned for its beauty, but we don't know anything about the temple, right? The temple. That's, again, this is one of those kind of like read carefully, they're going to try to get you questions. Yeah, reading the questions first before the other stuff, that's a good strategy, right? And of course, consulting the source down here too, this little info down here. Cool. Alrighty, one last question, and then we'll have you out of here right by 10 o'clock. I haven't eaten food either. By the way, this is the temple they're referring to. It was rebuilt after... it was rebuilt after the end of the kingdom, right? The amazing height and the amazing attention to detail of temples in South and Southeast Asia always amaze me. So, cool. All right, last one. We'll do this last one. So, this one has to do with the discussion of language diffusion in Africa. So we'll go ahead and let you read that one, and we'll go ahead and guess it. In the meantime, yeah, I know the colors are always really beautiful. In the meantime, we'll just quickly do another giveaway. Let's see. Zeflox won. Congratulations. And who else? Drana Wraith. Okay. Fair enough. Let's try to get someone who hasn't had who hasn't won today. Who hasn't won today? Let's see. What else could we pick? Renee EEX. Nice. And you know what we'll even do now? Just in case anybody hasn't had a chance to enter. Feel free to go ahead and enter now if you haven't already. If you haven't already entered. If you've already entered, you're fine. So this is the kind of question you'll see occasionally, right? Well, they will start off by telling you that every single one of these answers, A, B, C, or D, is accurate, right? So none of these are silly, made up, ridiculous answers, right? Like my wine mom Buddhism answer, right? These are all real, all official, right? So you've got to figure out which one best supports your argument, considering all of them are true, right? So which of these would support the claim that there was, let's see, the main claim of this particular one, that there were many different Bantu migrations? Which of these potentially supports that claim? Let's see. Interesting. We got a nice Interesting. Okay. So, what is the author's argument? This seems to be what it comes down to, right? So, scholars have been mesmerized by the distribution of the Bantu languages, which, by the way, is almost all of sub-Saharan Africa speaks a Bantu language, right? So this is the linguistic evidence and the Bantu expansion. So this is an article discussing that diffusion of this language, right? Only a single process and equally huge human migration, right? Basically, he's arguing that there was not a single migration. It looks like he's arguing that, let's see, the evidence shows that many different dispersals of a single language succeeded each other at different times, not continuously. So in other words, yes, there was a migration, but it was very dispersed, right? Happened over a long period of time, right? So which of these supports this evidence that there was a lot of small, short dispersals, right? So DNA evidence suggests human populations share similar genes. Not really. It's not A, right? Linguistic evidence shows that several small groups in Central and Southern Africa continue to speak non-Bantu languages. Well, it sounds pretty good, considering we're talking about linguistic evidence, right? Archaeological evidence suggests that metallurgy spread across sub-Saharan Africa in several distinct waves separated by hundreds of years. Well, the Bantu migrations are also associated with the spread of metallurgy. So there's that. Okay, maybe C or B. Ethnographic evidence shows that many West African societies share common themes in their cultural and religious traditions. No, okay, that was not correct. So it comes down to B or C. So it seems to come down to B or C. Would best support the author's argument in the passage. And if he's arguing that migration occurred in many different waves, it would appear as though C is the better answer for supporting several small waves of migration, right? It is correct that B is talking about linguistics, and the source is also talking about linguistics. But the answer doesn't necessarily have to be about linguistics. Evidence could be in any shape or form, right? So, this is a tough one. This is a tricky one, right? And so this is, hang on, backing up, right? So again, this is analyzing the argument, right? But the argument itself doesn't necessarily have to be the same thing that's being talked about in the document. Okay, all right, it is exactly 10 o'clock. It has been exactly almost an hour and a half. So I want to make sure that all of you do not stay up super late and sacrifice your health on my behalf. But if you had a good time, and if you'd like to do this again, we will be... hang on 1 second. Hang on just a second. If you had a good time, we will be doing this again on Thursday. So same time, same place, where we will be going over Unit 2, which is same 13 through 20 chapter, except it'll be about trade instead. It's going to be about trade and technology instead of culture and politics. And we'll also do some more multiple choice. So we'll do one last giveaway for the road. Hopefully we can get someone who hasn't had a chance, because we seem to have a lot of repeats here. Okay. And it's Digit Alex. And we'll do one more. Why not? I got lots of stickers to give away. And Hades Motion. Okay. Alrighty. Dope. Yeah, hopefully I'll get this. It's probably going to take it a few hours to process, but I have some other videos to edit tonight, so I'll be up late. So, with that said, if you were a sticker winner and you're not like one of my students or you're not at school, please reach out to me so I can get you your things in the mail. Okay? Heart room. Give me your stuff so I can get you your stuff in the mail, okay? Or a place I can send it. But with that, I'm going to let you go and sleep well. Have a good rest of your evenings. And we'll see y'all on Thursday. We'll also be doing, well, we'll see y'all on Thursday.